Welcome back, everybody. It's Two Guys, a Stack of Comics. That is Mike. I'm Reed.
Here's the stack.
We recently just talked about kind of ranking the Spider-Man films 1 through 8.
We had a lot of fun ranking those movies, and it got us thinking.
Who is the best Spider-Man?
Who's the best
of the
one?
actors who have played them? Talking about the live-action guys, of course, same as we did with the films. So no slight against any of the great voice actors who have brought the character to life in various video games and cartoons.
No, not at all.
Just looking at the guys who've had to play him in live action.
Tom Holland,
Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield.
Andy Garfield.
I think all of them have some great strengths. All of them have a few weaknesses. And to be honest, as me and Mike have talked about this for a long time. So before we kind of go through rankings, I think kind of go through each one of them and go through what their strengths and weaknesses are.
I haven't made up my mind yet. I'm still thinking about it as we're doing this. I'm like,
So I guess if we start with Maguire, I think the things that Maguire did well.
He played the nerd very, very well.
The nerd, yes.
And although he looked like he was in his early 30s.
Yeah, he kind of looked like, why are you hanging out with high schoolers?
I just bought it hook, line, and sinker. I didn't really think about it.
In a world where you're getting bit by a spider and you don't get a bite that itches, you get powers. I guess you can kind of subside the age issue to the back for a bit. I think the thing where he does well, as Mike said, he captures a lot of that original Stan Lee, Steve Ditko Spider-Man from the comics. The social outcast, the guy that you buy getting picked on. I think Garfield and Holland both kind of seem like outcasts, but not nerds who would get picked on.
Not nerds.
You buy Maguire's the one who would struggle talking to girls, who would get beaten up by Flash Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he did that really well. I think the other thing that he did extremely well is I think Maguire did the greatest job of establishing Peter as someone who has a special bond with Uncle Ben in Aunt May. That relationship that he had with those two, I thought so perfectly echoed the comic books.
Oh, yeah. You definitely bought it. You definitely bought it.
If we talk about where Maguire may fall a little short, I think Spider-Man is a very quippy character by just his very way that he acts in the books. Him joking in costume. And I think Maguire didn't necessarily have
Although Garfield.
That is where the second guy, Andrew Garfield, kind of kicks in. And I think
he
Garfield,
really got the quippiness.
The quippy, fun, fast-witted Spider-Man, who also can be kind of a nerd. And I thought Garfield did decently at that. He really bought that. I think
also early 30s.
Garfield does look a little older than the folks who are in the film. I think that where Garfield really, to me, I liked him as Spider-Man is he does have that kind of gangly, athletic look to him instead of the muscled up look. And I thought he did that well, especially if you look at kind of how Ditko originally drew Spider-Man. Especially when you hear some of the stories.
More like me. He was a skinny, nerdy guy.
I'd say more like me, but no. I'm too out of shape to
Well,
be
I am
Spider-Man.
now, but when I was 16, I looked just like Peter Parker.
Yeah, one of the cool things is, especially when you hear what Stan Lee talks about. Stan Lee originally wanted Jack Kirby to draw Spider-Man, but Kirby kept drawing him heroically and too bulky like he was Captain America.
He drew him looking like that.
He specifically picked Ditko because Ditko drew him as kind of a gangly teenager. And not to say anything negative about Andrew Garfield, but I think he captured that well, where it's more of that. He doesn't look like the traditional superhero.
He's a little uncomfortable in his skin.
He's a little more agile.
Yeah.
I think he did that well. And in terms of the quips, I think he did well.
Spot
I think
on.
A huge thing that he has as well, his ability to deliver on the emotional scenes in these movies.
Yeah.
When he has to have the death of Gwen happen, the death of Uncle Ben. Andrew Garfield's a great actor. If you haven't seen him in stuff like Hacksaw Ridge that he's in, he's a fantastic actor. And so he really brought that home. But where he does get a little bit negative is some of the scenes he's put in kind of hurt him because the writing in the Amazing Spider-Man films.
It's not his fault.
It's not his fault, but it does hurt his overall thing. Finally, Tom Holland.
Now, there's a kid who's the right age.
Yeah.
He's got the right attitude. But also, I felt, he's more of the outsider, but he still got more of the geek, I think, portrayed the geek more than Garfield.
Yeah, I think
but not as much as Maguire.
Holland's strength is the kind of naive, like Spider-Man as a kid thing, and I think
I love
he
that part
did
of
that
it.
well.
I love that part.
And it's funny is I've heard some people talk about Far From Home. He's thinking about quitting being Spider-Man. And it's really, if you go back to the original kind of Ditko and Lee books, Peter's talking about quitting all the time because he can't get a date with Betty Brant, or Betty wants to go out with Ned Leeds, and he's mad about that, so he almost quits. right? Him quitting in Far From Home where he just wants to go on vacation. I mean, Spider-Man quits being a superhero like in the 50th issue for a little bit because he's tired of it. And I thought Tom Holland did a good job of capturing that kind of teenager who wants to do the right thing but so badly just wants to have like a girlfriend and a normal life.
Those movies,
I
think,
he did a
really
good job of that.
Yeah, they were. So I think I made up my mind.
All right, so number one for you, where would you go of the three?
I'm going to go, and forgive us for a minute, the Dungeons and Dragons is escalating over here.
At our comic shop we go
It's
to.
coming to a crescendo here at Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch. But my three are like this. Okay, ready?
Yep, I got you.
Garfield, McGuire, Holland.
Okay.
I like Garfield the best.
I would agree Garfield is the top one. I think for
the acting.
For me, with him, as someone who's read Spider-Man comics my whole life, he was the one I most saw in the movies and went, I feel like this is the guy plucked out of the pages of the book.
Yeah.
And I felt like he captured that. I think especially in his ability to deal with when the emotional moments happen in those books.
Yeah.
And how Peter Parker reacts to that. I thought he did a great job with that.
So what are your three?
I'd have Garfield at the top. I would flip-flop and have Holland second, McGuire third.
McGuire third? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And I love Tobey Maguire. As a kid who was 13 when the first Spider-Man came out, he will always be, he's kind of like Michael Keaton in that he may not be my favorite Batman or my favorite Spider-Man, but when I think of my first memories of Spider-Man on screen, it's always them. And
He's got a place in your heart. He does.
For me, where Maguire goes down to third.
Just because of Spider-Man 3?
Not because of Spider-Man.
Get that movie out.
The big reason I would have Maguire third, I think his lack of the quippiness. What has always differentiated Spider-Man for me from other characters. Batman, Superman, the whole whoever. Spider-Man is a jokester. He's quippy. He gets nervous. And Maguire does some, but not to the level that Holland
and Garfield. They really got that part down.
I think Holland for me, where he's second. I think he's the perfect blend of the two. He captures the youth and kind of energy of Garfield with a little bit of the nerdiness. And where I really think Holland deserves a lot of credit is what Holland was dealing with when he was Spider-Man. To have to play opposite of Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man in a movie and to still carry your own weight.
Not just one movie.
Yeah, and multiple films.
Yeah.
When you show up as Spider-Man and you have to interact with Doctor Strange, when you're with the Avengers, when you have to do a fight scene with Falcon and Bucky and Captain America, it's really cool that he was able to hold his own. And watching those scenes, it did feel like, okay, this is what happens when Spider-Man clashes with the rest of the Marvel Universe.
I get you. I'm still not changing my mind now.
Yeah, I would still think, and I think we're united in saying Garfield's the best one.
Yeah.
And that he had the worst movies.
Unfortunately, that's the weird thing about it.
Yeah. And I think for him, the thing is...
And check out, we'll put a link to
our link for the ranking the films, yeah.
Because it comes out, although the Garfield movies were low, here we are both agreeing that he was the superior Spider-Man.
And it's fractions of a difference, I think, between the
That's another thing to point out.
Like this is...
I'm not dogging on Tom Holland.
And we're going to go through
great.
kind of the Batman films soon, but I think one of the things is, with Batman, you've got okay, there's Christian Bale and there's George Clooney, right? There's a huge difference. With the
Don't forget about Adam West.
With the Spider-Man actors, it's really, I think you could put them in any order.
They were all three.
If someone sat down and tried to tell me Tom Holland's the best one, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. If someone tells me Maguire's the best one, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I really think it is what you really feel works. And as someone who was a reader of Spider-Man comic books most of my life, I would say that's kind of the order I see at it. But be interested to see what you guys think below. Put it below what your rankings are.
How do you rank the top three?
Yeah, how do you rank do you agree with Mike's list or mine? Whatever you kind of feel. I think, just put yours below. No wrong answers here. But as always, great talking with you, and we'll see you in the next video.